In the last lesson, we learned about calculating the Gibbs Free Energy or delta G reaction, or just delta G. And the equation for delta G is negative N Fe cells. In this lesson, we're going to learn how to relate delta G and E cell to determine if the reaction is spontaneous or non-spontaneous. Just a review, we learned that a positive E cell potentials or a positive voltaic cell has a spontaneous reaction. That is, the reaction happened by itself, or we call it thermodynamically favored. Or we can have a negative E cells potentials. That would give us a non-spontaneous reaction that is considered not favored. In a non-spontaneous reaction, remember, we need external power source such as a battery. But in this case, we are going to learn how to look at E to determine the signs for delta G. Let's look at the negative signs right here in front of the equation. And if E cell is positive for spontaneous, we have a positive times a negative that will give us a negative. So therefore, for our spontaneous reaction, you would have a negative delta G. So let's look at the other way around, where still we have the negative sign and we have the negative E cell. So we have negative times a negative that give us a positive. So for a non-spontaneous reaction, we would have a positive delta G. Let's look at this example right here. I have my cathode and I have my anode, and it is given in terms of reduction potentials. So therefore, this would be the opposite of it, negative 1.5 volt. And my E cell potentials again is equal to oxidation plus reduction. So in this case, I would have negative 1.5 plus 0.8. That would give me negative 0.70 volt. Or negative 0.70 joule over coulomb. Since E cell is negative, and we go back and look at the equation, if this is negative, negative times a negative equal to positive. So therefore, delta G must be positive. Let's try another problem. In this case, I have the anodes right here given in terms of reduction. So therefore, this is oxidation. So this is the opposite of it, negative 1.23 volt. And then I calculate for my E cell, which is equal to oxidation plus reduction. So minus 1.23 plus 0.34. And this gives me negative 0.89. If your E cell is negative, and this is negative, so therefore your delta G must be positive. So delta G has a positive sign. And that's all we have to do. And this redox reaction is non-spontaneous. Overall, the purpose of this lesson is, can you relate the signs of E cell to the signs of delta G from the two half cells? And lastly, can you determine if the redox reaction is spontaneous or non-spontaneous?